G'day, Phil Badura here from ActionCOACH Business Steps. Let me ask you a straight question. Do you really know your numbers? Or are you just hoping things are okay because the phone is still ringing, the team is still busy, and there's still money moving through the bank account? Because here's what I've found after working with business owners across trades, services, manufacturing, logistics, and B2B businesses is a lot of owners are working hard, they're moving fast, solving problems every day, but they're not actually leading from the numbers. They're leading from pressure, they're leading from emotion, they're leading from whatever went wrong this morning. And that is one of the biggest reasons businesses stay stuck in chaos. Because when you don't know your numbers, you make reactive decisions. You hire too early or too late. You spend money in the wrong areas. You chase the wrong customers. You discount when you shouldn't. You panic when sales dip, and you miss the real reason performance is slipping. When you know the numbers that matter, everything changes. You make calmer decisions, smarter decisions, even faster decisions, and you stop guessing and start leading. And that's what today is all about. Today, I want to dig deep into the essential KPIs every growing business owner must track, why they matter so much, and how knowing your numbers helps you focus your attention, your energy, and your leadership on the right things that actually move the business forward. Because every successful business owner don't just work hard. They know what to measure, they know what to improve, and they know how to turn numbers into action. So why knowing your numbers matters? Let's start here. Numbers tell the truth. Your feelings matter, your instincts matter, your experience matters. But numbers tell you what is actually happening. They tell you whether marketing is working. They tell you whether sales conversations are converting. The numbers tell you whether pricing is healthy. The numbers also tell you whether the team is productive. And they tell you whether you really got profit or just revenue with stress attached. One of the biggest traps business owners fall into is confusing activity with progress. Being busy does not mean the business is healthy. Having a full calendar does not mean that you're profitable. Having a team running flat out does not mean the operation is efficient. I've seen businesses doing $2 million in revenue and struggling with cash flow. I've seen businesses with strong sales but weak margins. I've seen owners blaming staff, blaming the market, blaming the economy, when the real issue was they simply weren't tracking the right numbers early enough. And here's the hard truth. If you don't know your numbers, you don't really know your business. You know the noise, you know the pressure, you know the symptoms, but you don't know the drivers. The great leadership is about identifying the drivers, not just the surface issues, not the excuses, not the drama. The drivers, that's where a lot of my work with clients begins. Not with some complicated strategy session, not with a 60-page report, but with a simple question. What are the numbers we need to know every week to tell us whether this business is winning or it's slipping? That question alone changes the conversation, because once the team starts looking at facts instead of assumptions, the business becomes easier to lead. The mindset shift from operator to business leader. If you want to grow your business, you must move from being the person who just responds to problems to becoming the leader who reads the indicators before the problems get expensive. That is a mindset shift, and it requires a few key traits. So number one, first, honesty. You must be willing to look at the numbers without emotion, without blame, and without denial. That is, being above the point of power. The second is ownership. If a number is off, the goal isn't to find someone to blame. The goal is to understand the system, correct the process, and improve the result. Third is consistency. You don't win with numbers by checking them once a quarter when the accountant sends something through. You win by reviewing the right numbers regularly with discipline. And fourth is focus. Not every number matters equally. This is where owners get overwhelmed. They're either tracking nothing or they track too much. A successful owner knows how to focus attention on the few numbers that actually drive performance. And that's where your energy should go, not into spreadsheets for the sake of spreadsheets, not into drowning the team in data, into clarity, into the numbers that help you answer what's working, what's not, what needs to change. That is how you start working on the business instead of drowning in it. Now let's get practical. These are the essential numbers I believe every growing SME business owner should know. Number one is leads. How many new inquiries, prospects, calls, website leads, referrals, or quote requests are actually coming in? Because if your leads are down, future sales are at risk. This is one of the first numbers to watch because it tells you whether your marketing and marketing presence are creating enough opportunity. No leads, no pipeline, no growth. Number two is conversion rate. What percentage of leads actually become paying customers? This number tells you whether your sales process is working. If your leads are strong but conversion is weak, you don't have a lead problem, you have a sales problem. That might be poor follow-up, slow response times, weak quoting, unclear value, no sales training, or inconsistent customer experience. Number three is the average dollar sale. What is the average value of each sale or job? This is where pricing, packaging, upselling, and value communication show up. Many business owners think the answer to growth is more customers. Sometimes the answer is to increase the average value of each transaction. Sell smarter, not just harder. Number four is the number of transactions. How often are customers buying from you? This is a huge one. A lot of businesses work too hard to win a customer once and then do almost nothing to try and get them back again. Repeat business is more profitable. It's lower cost. It builds loyalty. It strengthens your cash flow. So if transaction frequency is low, there's usually an opportunity to follow up systems, service cadence, account management, or customer reactivation. Number 5 is gross profit margin. This tells you what's left after direct costs, not turnover, not busyness, not cash in the bank this week. Gross profit, because you can be selling more and actually getting weaker if margin is being squeezed. This is why discounting without discipline is so dangerous. Owners get excited about sales volume while margin quietly disappears in the background. Number 6 is your net profit margin. So these are the key KPIs that you should be tracking. What are you actually keeping after all expenses? And this is the final test. You're not in business to create revenue. You're in business to create a commercial, profitable enterprise. If the business is working hard and the owner is carrying all of the stress, but there's little left over afterwards, that's not success. That's exhaustion dressed up as turnover. Number 7 is cash flow. How much cash is in the business? What's coming in? What's going out? And how many weeks ahead can you see out? Profit is vital, but cash flow keeps the doors open. A business can be profitable on paper and still run into serious trouble if cash is trapped in debtors, stock, rework, or slow-paying customers. This is why cash flow visibility is critical. You need a forward view, not just a backward report. Number 8, debtor days and accounts receivable. How long does it take your customers to pay you? This number matters more than many owners realise. If you're waiting 45, 60 or 90 days to get paid, that delay creates pressure everywhere else in the business. It affects wages, supplier relationships, stress levels, and the business's growth capacity. Faster collections often improve a business faster than chasing new revenue. Number 9 is labour productivity, wages as a percentage of revenue. This is especially important in service, trades and manufacturing businesses. How productive is the team? Are the wages aligned with output? Are hours being turned into profitable work? Because many businesses don't have a revenue problem, they have an efficiency problem. The team is busy but not productive. Time is being lost in poor planning, poor communication, rework, delays, unclear priorities, or even weak systems. Productivity is about getting more done in less time. Number 10 is customer retention and referral rate. How many customers stay? How many buy again? How many refer others? These numbers tell you whether you are creating a good customer experience worth talking about. Retention and referral are signs of trust. They tell you whether your value goes beyond just delivering the job. A business with strong retention and referral doesn't need to fight as hard for every new sale. Now, the real power of KPIs is better decision making. Let's talk about why these numbers matter so much. Because KPIs are not there to make you look clever. They are there to help you make better decisions. For example, If leads are down, you focus on marketing. If conversion's down, you focus on sales and sales processes. If average sale is low, you look at pricing and packaging. If margin is weak, you fix costing and discount disciplines. If cash flow is tight, you tighten collections and spending. If labour productivity is low, you improve systems, planning and accountability. If retention's poor, you improve service and follow-up. That's the value. The numbers tell you where to put your attention. This is where focus, attention and energy become so important, because one of the biggest mistakes owners make is spreading energy across too many issues all at once. A bit of marketing, a bit of team frustration, a bit of admin, a bit of pricing, a bit of stress, a bit of everything. And nothing really changes. But when the numbers show the real bottleneck, leadership becomes clear. Now you know where your attention belongs, not everywhere, but somewhere specific. That's how progress is made. Not by doing more, by doing what matters most. Let me give you a few examples of how this plays out. I worked with a trades business where the owner believed the problem was a lack of leads. He was constantly talking about needing more marketing, more inquiries, more exposure. But when we looked at the numbers, the leads were actually reasonable. The real issue was quote follow-up and conversion. Inquiries were coming in, quotes were going out, but there was no disciplined follow-up system. Once we implemented a simple sales tracking process, improved response times, and made the team accountable for follow-up, conversions improved, revenue lifted, without needing a huge increase in marketing spend. I've worked with a manufacturing style client who thought the business had a sales problem, but the real problem was margin leakage. They were busy, the factory was moving, work was going out the door. But the numbers showed too much rework, underquoting, and low visibility costing. Once we started reviewing gross profit by job and identifying where margin was disappearing, the owner stopped chasing turnover for the sake of it and started pricing with confidence. Now, that changed the quality of decisions completely. I've also worked with service businesses where cash flow stress was draining the owner's energy every week. They were making sales, and on paper, things looked okay. But debtor days were hurting them badly. Invoices weren't being sent out fast enough, collections were inconsistent, and too much working capital was being tied up. By tightening invoicing systems, setting the expectations with customers, and tracking receivables weekly, the owner got more control, reduced pressure, and could finally think strategically again. That's the point. The right number gives you the right conversation. The right conversation leads to the right decision, and the right decision creates the right result. So what should a business owner do from here? Keep it simple. Start with a weekly dashboard, not 50 numbers, not pages of reports. A one-page scorecard. Track the key drivers weekly: leads, conversions, sales, average sale, gross margin, cash collected, debtors, labour productivity, and customer retention or referrals. Then review those numbers with discipline. Every week, ask, what moved, Why did it move? What does it mean? And then what action are we taking? Then build team accountability around those numbers. Each key number should have an owner, someone who knows it, watches it, and influences it. Because numbers don't improve by accident. They improve when people own them. And finally, don't use numbers to punish people. Use them to lead people. Use them to create clarity. Use them to coach performance, and use them to identify system improvements. And then finally, use them to remove confusion. That is how numbers become a leadership tool rather than just a reporting exercise. If you've been running your business on instinct, pressure, and hard work alone, let me say this very clearly. You do not need to stay in that cycle. You can lead with more clarity. You can make better decisions. You can even take back control. But it starts with knowing your numbers first. Not every number, the numbers that really matter. Because when you measure, you can improve. What you improve, you can scale. And what you scale with discipline can give you more profit, more time, better team performance, even a far stronger business. That's what real business leadership looks like. If you'd like help in identifying the key KPIs in your business, building a simple dashboard, and getting your team focused on the numbers that actually drive performance, book a strategy session. Let's find the gaps, let's fix the chaos, and let's build a business that gives you more control, more confidence, and better results. I'm Phil Badura from ActionCOACH Business Steps. Take action, get results.